On July 11th, 2025, Frost Giant Studios released a new article called First Campaign Emerging from Early Access. In addition to campaign details and suggesting Stormgate's advancement from early access, this article shared Frost Giant Studios' plan for work-in-progress items to be housed in a portion of the client called Sigma Labs. Paraphrasing from that article, Sigma Labs is where players are welcome to join us in experimenting with some of the upcoming features and game modes on which Frost Giant Studios is actively working. The confirmed sections of Sigma Labs at present are co-op, custom games, and the new Terrain Editor Alpha, though the article proceeds to mention that the secretive Team Mayhem 3v3 mode will be added at some point in the future. Stormgate's upcoming advancement from early access spawned Discord conversations about what game modes should be in Sigma Labs and what state are the game modes that are currently in the game. I was asked in private about my opinion on whether 1v1 should be considered experimental, including the ranked portion, and this video is my response. When Stormgate leaves early access, it does so as a full release. Whether Frost Giant Studios wants leaving early access to be called 0.6 or 1.0, it doesn't really matter. It's treated by Steam and by players as a full release, and that puts Stormgate in a higher level of scrutiny. The 50 people who are active on Discord or Reddit who believe differently from this don't mean anything compared to the potential hundreds or thousands of people who will dive back in once they see that Stormgate has left early access. Now, from a marketing standpoint, Frost Giant Studios can't put Versus in Sigma Labs. It would be a death sentence. Putting Versus in Sigma Labs leaves every person waiting for full release scratching their heads. How did you not figure out a full 1v1 release in 4 to 5 years? Will be the question that's asked, and there's no defending it. The Vanguard campaign is complete, but the campaign as a whole is not. The co-op has been shelved, the public editor is only a terrain editor and in alpha state, and the Team Mayhem 3v3 mode has had no public visibility. Putting Versus in Sigma Labs will revive all the suggestions that the Kickstarter, funding, etc. was a scam. Because if 1v1 isn't finalized, then what was delivered? What was finished? But from my perspective, 1v1 is simultaneously the most polished game mode and remains in a Sigma Labs state. And it's not about whether Celestial and Infernal have proper Tier 3 units, if the Stormgate Feyor and Stormgate reward is broken, or if the turn speed on Exos needs adjustment. It's not about expecting perfect balance immediately. It's that the last year of balance and preceding years of design decisions feel like Frost Giant Studios was counting the bake timer while the oven was preheating. Mirror matchups have been historically abysmal and forced mono compositions that lack strategic depth. Strong players will privately tell you they much preferred the game's complexity and balance a year ago, yet balance keeps shifting towards a casual player population that has never manifested. The higher time to kill doesn't address DPS density issues that are at the heart of the melee versus ranged gameplay problems, and there's no sign of defensive gameplay through armor, high ground, or defensively based AoE. Despite the public overtures towards players who didn't like StarCraft 2's pacing. The tools meant for defensive play and designed as such as the Sovereign's Watch for Celestials, the Bomb Overcharge for Vanguard, and the never-quite-named White Health for Infernal players, were always transformed into offensive rushes due to their designs. This game wants its 1v1 experiences, both ranked and unranked, to be more friendly to new players, but the addition of the new Stormgates makes the problem of needing a build order way worse for players.
This is the biggest problem
the
that RTS
margins
games
of
have right
error
now,
are too
is that the people that play them
especially
are
for
too fucking
those
good.
new players. Never mind that high time to kill is worse for newer players than low time to kill, a complex topic that deserves its own video. There are enormous design problems within each faction. Vanguard's free repair and the not marine, the Celestials flying workers and structure creation, and the Infernal's charge macro and free units all present issues that tweaking numbers simply can't address. Workers across every faction had to get their own tag to avoid being victims of a bare-bones attack and armor system, and that bandaged the wound, but it doesn't set the bone, so it won't heal properly. Flying units are made terrible and to suck, but there are insufficient tools to deal with them. Infernal players at the 2K plus MMR level are begging for something to have to do with their hands in major engagements, and Celestials have the StarCraft 2 Protoss problem of having 10 abilities on a 5-unit army. The specifics matter a lot less than painting a picture. None of these concerns can be fixed with changing research upgrade timers or with new maps possessing higher natural to natural distance. Balance items such as the Fairn's healing speed, brute hit points, and overcharges servo armor bonus, they can be fixed. Those are just number problems. Those are just balance issues. But the underlying design elements cannot be fixed with these simple number changes, and that is the reason Stormgate has consistently been rich tactically, but poor strategically. Feedback on 1v1 across the player base appears paradoxical and can be difficult for devs to parse. The two most common complaints about 1v1, especially ranked 1v1, are that it's simultaneously simple and yet too hard. But since the two groups making those claims are on differing sides of the casual competitive divide, I'll offer some translation. The players who call the game simple are often more competitive. What they mean is that the game lacks strategic depth and lacks the ability for control to push players out of the strategic limitations of the metagame's box. In contrast, the players who call the game hard tend towards casual. The root of their complaint is that the game is mechanically intensive and overly punishing. I would argue that the overly punishing nature of Stormgate's gameplay comes from its time to kill. As the percentage of damage a unit deals relative to enemy health lowers, the longer interactions become. These interactions favor stronger players and give fewer opportunities for weaker players to gain any minor advantage. This combination of simple strategy and deep mechanical depth means that neither side of the casual competitive divide is really getting what they want out of the game in the 1v1 environment. More casual players struggle to enjoy a Stormgate because a Blizzard-style RTS, even with extra quality of life and lower speed, is still hard, and even ignoring the skill level of their opponents. As for the competitive players, they can be heard talking in boredom about replays or tournament games or match results because the strategic diversity is limited and the game isn't mechanically challenging enough for them to differentiate themselves. When you remove the middle portion of any ladder, you bring the bottom up and lower the top. And that's to say nothing of the pacing of the game, which ramps up too quickly to have any proper narrative structure. But the biggest reason, the most controversial reason, that I would have to keep
Hyper combo finish!
No, I'm serious. If you could scour the city of Stormgate for 50 players that believe it's their favorite RTS, the game could be saved. But let's call a spade a spade. The people who are playing the most do not think Stormgate is the best RTS they've played. Maybe their home game is dead or dying. Maybe they can win more prize money in a smaller competitive pool. Maybe they don't want to give up an esports lifestyle. Maybe they want to achieve some notoriety or build a community. But there's less than 5 of those most invested people who will tell you that Stormgate is their favorite real-time strategy game. And I think that when your most polished game mode is not fun to the people who have a vested interest in finding so, that game mode should be in Sigma Labs. All I've done is outline some reasons why that might be the case. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.